Cooper Union because your stuff's paid for. And I was like, no, I'm going where you went. So I wish I'd gone to Cooper Union. I probably wouldn't be paying back my student loans for my firstborn children. But, you know, it's a phenomenal school in the middle of a city, close to D.C., close to New York, close to everything. So it was really a good experience going there. And
what was your focus going to college?
Fashion. Well, I majored in fashion design, but I took a lot of art classes. One of my teachers there was a master couturier from France, so I learned some wonderful techniques. He actually passed away my senior year there. I left all his money to his dog. But it was a good experience being there. I was in a sorority, which even now my students are like, you were in a sorority? You're a debutante. You came out to society. We don't know you at all. You know, I have this weird dynamic of growing up upper middle class, but being in this art vibe and being very free spirited. And people don't usually connect the two of those things together.
Yeah.
So
I guess they relate art to struggle.
Yeah. And I struggled in my art. I'm still struggling in my art, but you know, my background is not this traditional. You know, my art came out of struggle. My art came out of. It did come out of some struggle, but it came out of a supportive background.
Right.
We support you in what we do. We have no understanding of what you're doing, but go ahead, do it. Like, even when we're together now, my family's like, she's the artist. Whispering. I'm like, I'm right here. Woohoo, I'm right here.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So you followed fashion design, and were you looking for jobs in the fashion industry? What were the plans? What were the ideas while you were in college?
I had two plans when I graduated. One, I applied to Mattel because I wanted to design for Barbie because her wardrobe was the best ever.
Okay.
And there was a designer, Therese Fleetwood. She made global wedding dresses. Ironically enough, 20 years later, fast forward, she and I became really good friends in Atlanta, and we're friends to this day.
Nice.
Those were the only two jobs I applied for out of college, and when I realized those weren't working, I said, oh crap, I had to get. So I just applied for this job as a product designer, and I went into the interview and they asked me, could I do all this stuff? Yes. I lied my way into my first job, but I made them millions of dollars. Millions, because they would drop a piece of equipment on my desk and I would have to make a case, waterproof, whatever design. So every day was different, which was good. But the people I worked for were not very nice. And so I lied my way into the job, made them tons of money. I got tired of it. I applied to the Peace Corps, got in, and I left and went to the Peace Corps. And I actually taught art in Ghana, West Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, and I learned to speak Twi, Fanti, and Hausa while I was there.
How long were you gone?
I was supposed to do 2 years. I did 6 months because they thought I got malaria, but when I came back, I had like 7 different bacterias or whatever.
What?
Giardia. I had like 7 things, but I'm from Durham. We had Duke infectious disease. They patched me up nice. After so many stool samples, you know,
it was figured it out.
That and School of the Arts, those were 2 of the best things I ever did. It really was to go, because in Peace Corps you don't make any money. You're serving. But to be that free to live, they take care of you, food and stuff. And I was teaching in an all-boys school in an area even the Ghanaian teachers didn't want to go to. And so you learn to live with nothing. I had no running water, no toilet. Like even right now, I can bathe in 5 cups of water and wash my hair and everything. You learn what living minimally really is. So you realize how unimportant stuff is. I would tell my friends, write to me. The only thing more valuable is toilet paper, and sometimes they're one and the same.
So write me a letter.
Right off. Right off.
Oh no, you didn't keep those letters.
No, I had like 2. But it was really awesome, and that is what whet my appetite for international travel. After that, my wanderlust just blossomed. Like I can barely breathe without traveling right now.
Wow,
it's hard.
So Peace Corps, then you came back, you got better, and what was the next step?
Well, I went back to that job and realized how much I hated it. I literally sat at my desk for a week until they fired me.
The product design?
Yeah, and I like skipped out of there like, oh God, I can breathe. And at that point I realized sometimes money's important, you need it to live, but how you get that money, it mattered to me. I interviewed with Nike. I couldn't work with them because I didn't like their ethics back then. Hopefully it's better now, but it was horrible and nobody was checking them on it. So I always had a conscience, but I really found it working for that company and realized all money isn't good money.
Right.
And that was not good money. They had horrible practices. They would walk in, almost everyone in our sewing room was somewhere from South America, and they were like, yeah, we're trying to get with what was it, ISO 9000 down there, and we sent the dogs out to get the kill because we sent the Mexicans out to get the kill because we didn't want the dogs to get hurt. That was the day I decided I quit. And I sat there for a week until they fired me. I was like, you can't mistreat people and do well. And they're out of business now. They should be. You can't mistreat people and do well in your business, especially when the people you're working for, the people you're doing a disservice to. So I try to always be conscious of that.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. They call that social responsibility nowadays. A whole bunch of stuff. So, how'd you end up in Atlanta?
Well, I got married, and when I left my job, I moved back home. My parents like, Daddy, can I come home? He was like, come on, because I know you're not staying. And in the interim, I met my now ex-husband, married him, and was married 14 years. Had 5 sons with him, and when my older twins were 3 months old, we decided to relocate to Atlanta. And
do you have plans for Atlanta? Do you have some prospects or
no? We just moved here. Like, let's do it. Atlanta's happening right now.
Yeah.
And we moved, and I ended up working at Chastain Art Center for a few years, which I really, really loved. A lot of my friends are still over there. Some of them have moved on. And
what'd you do there?
I taught art over there, so I would teach regular classes during the year, and I would help with the summer camp during the summer. It was the really cool thing. I started doing yoga there because in the summer camp they had a yoga teacher come in, and so we're going to do yoga with the kids. It was really progressive when I was there. And then I stopped, and I stayed home with my kids for a little bit. And then I actually taught college with a bachelor's degree because I had so much life experience.
Right.
And so I taught fashion design for 4 years, and when I got pregnant with my last twins, I had to quit my job. 5 kids, childcare. 5 kids, childcare. So it's like somebody had to stay home. So I took the hit and stayed home and quit my job. And 4 years later, my ex said it was hard, and he walked. He literally abandoned me and my kids. So I was like, oh man, I have to do something now. And true story, he left on a Thursday. Sunday, one of my collectors came in and put $1,000 on the table and was like, what you got new? And it's been kind of uphill since then. So I've gotten back and got the job at Grady teaching and getting back into doing my art. I've since got my master's in art education. And getting back out there doing my art again.
So what's your art?
Good question. That's a question I've been asking myself lately. I kind of know where I want to go with it. Because previously, and I still do, I was doing textile art, like art quilts that are meant to be hung, big pieces. I was doing some paintings and mixed media. And I feel like right now I'm at a crossroads. I'm not the person I was or where I was, but I'm not quite the person I'm becoming or where I'm going to be. So I think the work I'm doing now is interim work. One of the things I've been really digging deep with is what does it mean to be Southern? Being that grits, that girl raised in the South. What is that for me visually? What does it look like? And so I'm actually doing these pieces. I'm doing thumbnails in my sketchbook. I draw with ballpoint pen, so my hand and eye agree. I just have to learn how to get it. And on top of that, I actually am painting with tobacco juice and shoe polish. And I'm going to end up doing these pieces that are mixed media, tobacco juice, shoe polish, actual black eyed peas, drawings of black eyed peas, grits. I think collard greens are the most beautiful thing aesthetically, hands down. So these are the things I want to incorporate into my work. And it's, what does it mean to be Southern, especially a Southern woman, from my perspective? And a lot of it's related to food because I love to cook. I'm a good cook. And a lot of stories and narratives are told over food around the table while you're cooking. And so my thing is what is my narrative as a woman growing up in the South, and how can I tell it so other people understand what that is and what that means?
So not only is the subject covering the South and you as a woman and so on, but you're using the medium that you're creating with is the food. Is actual food.
Well, part of it is I was in love with my grandfather when I was little. His mother was Native American. He was beautiful, like boot black. I thought he was the most gorgeous man ever. And I was like, when I get big, I'm going to marry you. They all laughed. I didn't know why they laughed, but I was in love with him. But he chewed tobacco, and I remember him shining his shoes. So part of my aesthetic is to engage all 5 senses. Hence, the tobacco juice has a very strong smell. The shoe polish has a smell. And so when you're looking at this artwork, you'll see it, you'll smell it. It's going to evoke some kind of memory. Like I remember my grandfather chewing tobacco and polishing his shoes. So that's why I'm using those mediums.
So you don't need to go to the art store. You just go to the grocery store.
I go to the grocery store. And I've been doing it on raw wood. And I'm really developing. Because I do textiles, I've been testing on raw wood and fabric. And it bleeds a little too much on that. So I'm experimenting and trying to figure out what the whole narrative is. And that's part of where I am right now, I think. And almost all of my work is women and girls. If you see a male in my work, he's like a support footnote to the big narrative. I feel like men have always told women and girls stories, and I feel like as a woman, it's my responsibility to tell our stories as women and girls. I really, really feel that's important. So,
has that been your focus recently, or is that something that you've developed in all those years of you being a creator? Because you said that your collector showed up and said, "What you got? That's new." What were you working on then?
I had a mishmash. I actually was trying some different things. As a matter of fact, that collector has the first shoe polish piece I did. And she also has a quilt I did that was called Brick Chicks, and it was like these 70s retro appliques of women with afros. And so it was really kind of diverse at that point because I was just experimenting. I still feel like I'm in that experimental stage. I'm trying to figure out what my thing is completely. And when you do a lot of different mediums, it's hard to just hone it down, but I feel like I'm getting there. Almost. I'm getting there, figuring out what it is I'm completely trying to say. Like, what's the complete narrative on what it is I'm trying to say? Who am I trying to say it to? And what's my voice? And I love text on work. So some of the pieces I'm doing have text in them. The skin, the outline of the person is obviously someone of, ethnic descent, but there's no color. So I've been leaving color off the skin and putting all the color in the background and having moments of. It's pretty interesting. I ran out 2 ballpoint pens in the last 3 days, just in my sketchbook, trying to develop these ideas. And see where they're going.
What is in the show this week?
This week, this show is inspired by Octavia Butler. It's like Afro-futuristic type stuff. And it's some of the pieces leading to what I'm doing next. Mostly these pieces are little girls, no skin tone. It's all about the background. One of the things I do in my art, you won't see a lot of details in the background because I feel like sometimes the absence of a narrative in the background forces you to pay closer attention to what's in the foreground. So it's some mixed media pieces in there. It's like broken glass and mirrors, and I like mirrors in my work because you're looking at the work, but you're looking at yourself, and so you become part of the work.
Wow. Mirrors are one of my things. I don't do it in my artwork, but my Aztec god, his name is Tezcatlipoca, and he wears smoky mirrors on his chest, and one of his feet, he lost one of his feet, and so instead of a foot, he has a mirror. And he is the god of destiny, and to me, it means that when you look in the mirror, you see who's in charge of your destiny.
And the irony in all of this is I personally don't look in mirrors. No. I'm a woman who doesn't look at herself in mirrors. I don't. And all the mirror I collect, I don't break them. I collect them. I find already broken mirrors, and I collect those. And the broken glass I got was on the side of the road, so I pulled over with a stick. My son was like, "Mommy, what are you doing? That's art materials, baby. Just give me another cup." And so I collect things with the intent of using them, never quite knowing why, but I know they're important. But definitely mirrors, because the person, the viewer's part becomes part of the artwork.
Wow. And so now you're working your way through the story you want to tell. And how long you been an artist? Like
always.
I
don't ever remember not being an artist. If I had to have a distinct moment where I said I am an artist in my head, I was young, 6 or 7. I was really, really young.
And you look young now, but I don't want to tell your age. But
I don't mind. I'm 43.
43.
Yeah.
And so, and at 43, you're figuring out what's your message and what is it you're working on, that what you want to say.
Yeah, and I think I've been at different stages where I've had different things to say. I think last year I had a come to